Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Storytime Society. I'm your host Jamie and I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're live. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. The theme of this episode is creepy brothers. One of them is very creepy. I obviously haven't read it, but the gist of it seems creepy. And the second one, I don't know if it's creepy. It might not be creepy. It might be like a little bit sad actually. So let's get into it. The title of the first story is My Brother, 27 male, does some really creepy stuff, and I, 21 female, am done with him. Hey Reddit, I'm desperate. My brother is really, really creepy. Like really effing creepy to the point where I look at him and I have serial killer thoughts. Then I realize what I'm thinking and I feel guilty. Yesterday, for example, he picked me up at uni and was supposed to take me to the mall because I needed to buy some things. I realized the route was different and I asked him where he was going. He didn't say anything. I kept asking where we were going because I knew we were far away from uni and he was driving faster and faster and I told him to stop, but he wouldn't. Then he casually went back to the mall. I got out of the car and said he didn't need to drive me back. He just went away. Sometimes on holidays, I'll be alone and he'll stand behind me and scare me. I told him multiple times to stop and he didn't. He's been doing it since we were kids. Sometimes I would wake up and see him standing in front of me while I slept. Last Thanksgiving, I was sleeping and woke up to him sitting on the edge of my bed, speaking French. Sometimes he'll show up at my college and ask to talk to me. I'll get off class and then he'll just say it was nothing and go away. Sometimes I see his car parked at my boyfriend's house. I don't understand it. I'm done with him. What can I do? Sorry, what? What's going on? I'm so scared. Relevant comments. Someone said, OP, you need to start answering questions so we can help you. Questions like, where are your parents and what do they think of this behavior? Has he been evaluated? Do you ever feel threatened, sexualized? Does he do this with anyone else? Help us out here and give us something back. OOP said, hey, I'm here. I'm sorry for not answering earlier. I ended up sleeping. Anyways, yes. When I was a little girl, I used to tell my parents about my brother going over to my bedroom and scaring me. My parents would talk to him and say it's absolutely not okay to do that. But he wouldn't listen to them. My parents also took him to a therapist when he was a kid to see if there was something going on, but no, nothing. He kept doing it as we grew up, except that he came creepier, like the things I mentioned in the post. There was one occasion where I was on a trip in another country and he showed up at the same place I was. Instead of being excited by his presence, I was just so tired about it, so I asked him, what are you doing here? And he said, I'm just enjoying France. You're the only one who can appreciate this beauty? I couldn't do anything, so I ended up accepting it. He does have a girlfriend, and no, he doesn't act that way with her. He doesn't act this way with anyone. He has a good job. I don't live with my parents, and nor does he. Storytime Society is now available on all listening platforms. If you are on any of those listening platforms, I would really appreciate it if you rated me 5 stars. Thanks for all the support. And then Lil Drummer Boy said, wait a second. This dude shows up randomly while you're in France out of nowhere and just seems to bump into you. That's some next level shit right there, OP. Did you tell your parents about this issue in particular? OOP said, I did. My parents were disappointed that he was still doing that and told me that they were going to talk to him. It happened in March too, not so long ago. I feel like this guy has a creepy obsession with his sister, in not a good way. Update 6 days later. I talked to my parents and told them I was tired of my brother's behavior and that they should do something. Otherwise, I wouldn't be going home anymore. They said I was being too extreme and that he would stop eventually, but that shit has been going on ever since we were kids and I knew he wasn't going to stop. So I gave them an ultimatum. They would talk to my brother and my brother would stop, or the 3 of them could have a nice life. My parents talked to him, after all. My brother refused to get evaluated at first. He was really upset. He went over to my dorm and tried to choke me. He screamed at me. And then he tried to choke me. Then he realized what he was doing and started crying and apologizing. Someone called the cops because my brother tried to unalive himself afterwards. Anyways, everything is okay now. I mean, not everything. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia. He didn't get a full written report because it's been a week and it takes time, but that was the feedback and diagnosis. I'm going to be okay. I just want to say thank you all for the advice and stuff. You know, I appreciate it a lot. Oh my God. Okay, well, that is probably a good idea to take your kid to multiple doctors if you really think something's wrong with him. Because it seems like they could have probably caught something sooner. It seems like he's been doing this for a really long time. And if they had just taken him to the doctor, like, Obviously, if something's wrong with your kid and you take him to a doctor and they're like, nope, everything's fine, go get a second, third, fourth, 17th opinion, because something is wrong. And you don't want it to go on for this long and then have something terrible like this happen. Someone said, so how will your relationship be with your brother now? And OOP said, I'm not sure. He's just getting treatment now after 27 years and it will be tough. Really, really tough. I'll try to be supportive of him, but I have to take care of myself too. Well, I think you can give yourself some time to not have to deal with that situation. I mean, as sad as it is, obviously he has a mental illness and that's really sad, but that doesn't make it right or okay for you to be now traumatized because of all of the stuff that you had to endure for your whole entire life that he put you through. Obviously, that is like an explanation for his behavior, but it's not an excuse for his behavior because clearly it's affected you. And I think it's okay to put yourself first and not want to think about that for a while and not want to have to associate yourself with that for a while. And he can work on himself and you can have separate time. And once you're feeling comfortable, if ever, then you can circle back and see if you want to have a relationship with him. But I do not think that you are required to have a relationship with him, even though it's obviously you can empathize with him. The fact that he had to go all his life being being undiagnosed with a very serious mental illness. The top comment says, I love that he will grow out of it when he's literally all grown up. Saying that about a 27-year-old is wild. I feel like the parents' reactions are typical for infantilization. The parents have failed here. Gah. Credit to OOP. She's a rock star here. But Jesus, those parents are worse than useless. How do you let this kind of behavior escalate to this point without trying some kind of intervention? And then Lord Kebab said, perfect example of we tried nothing and we're all out of ideas. Very much the school of if you ignore a problem, the problem doesn't exist. Laney122 said, there's actually a phenomenon where sometimes people will deny something even when presented with proof, if accepting it means that their worldview changes too much. I saw an interview with the first responder describing how he was trying to clear an evacuation area and a tourist refused to listen to him because she didn't want to believe that she was actually in any danger. It's also why spouses of people accused of abuse will defend them, even if there is proof that they're guilty, because the alternative is that they need to admit that they married someone capable of horrible things. That makes a lot of sense. I'm so glad that she is out of that situation, though. Like, thank God that they finally figured it out. Although, obviously, you would have much rather it been way sooner to avoid all of the hardship and the trauma that I'm sure not only was this girl put through, but I'm sure a lot of other people in his life were put through. I mean, even the parents, I'm sure, had to endure a lot of stress and trauma through that. And not only that, but the poor guy himself who was failed by his parents that could have done so much more and they didn't, and now he's 27 years old having to go through this, which I can't even imagine like what you have to go through at 27 years old after your whole life. And then now, like, how does it even work? Because I don't even know. Also, just like, can schizophrenia just come about, or is it something that's always in you, or does something trigger it and it's like dormant in you until a certain time or whatever? Like, it says schizophrenia is not a condition you're born with, but rather one that develops due to a combination of genetic predisposition and environmental factors. It's not a single gene disorder, but rather a complex interplay of multiple genes interacting with various environmental influences. Genetic predisposition. While having a family history of schizophrenia increases the risk, it doesn't guarantee the development of the disorder. It's believed that multiple genes, each with a small effect, contribute to the overall risk. Changes in brain chemistry, particularly in neurotransmitters like dopamine and glutamate, are thought to be involved in the development of schizophrenia. Schizophrenia typically manifests in late teens to early 30s, with men often experiencing symptoms earlier than women. However, it can also be developed later in life, known as late onset schizophrenia. Okay, interesting. This Mayo Clinic says schizophrenia is considered early onset when it starts before the age of 18. Onset of schizophrenia in children younger than 13 is extremely rare. Okay, so when did he get checked out? I mean, he's been doing crazy crap since you guys were kids and he never stopped. So like, I don't know. I don't know how this stuff works, guys. I'm no psychiatrist, but I'm just confused because if he's really been doing like crazy stuff to you since you were little and you used to wake up to him at the edge of your bed speaking French, there had to have been something going on when he was younger as well, right? Like if you're not, schizophrenia is not common in young kids, so I don't know what the case is for that. I have no clue. The title of the next story is I Believe My Brother Has Been Replaced. I, male 30, want to preface by saying I'm not mentally ill, and this is not the schizo post you are expecting. I have no better way to articulate what I'm thinking right now. My brother, male 20, just came back from his gap year, traveling Asia in hopes that he would find himself. We were never really close, so his lack of contact during this year didn't strike me with too much alarm. But my parents have informed me of 3 separate incidents in which they needed to contact authorities to ask about him. He's a mommy's boy, so this did seem very out of character. We hosted a dinner for my brother's return to the country, but upon seeing him at the airport, it was like a stranger tried to draw my brother from memory and pass that as the real thing. He looked completely different. He was severely underweight. He looked 2 to 3 inches shorter. He seemed bedraggled and unkempt. Believe me, this was the opposite of my brother prior to this trip. He was always been a germaphobe, someone who washes his hands twice to make sure he eliminates all the bacteria. But this guy, he smelled horrendous. He didn't even try to talk to us or properly acknowledge our existence. He begrudgingly gave our mom a hug and our dad a handshake. He didn't even say hello to me. It's been around 2 weeks, and what I've been hearing from my parents is horrifying. Apparently, he's been extremely active at night and sleeping during the day. They can only get a faint murmur out of him, and his speech is becoming increasingly nonsensical. He doesn't shower. He doesn't seem to eat. He spends all his time locked away in his room, doing something, my parents don't know what, extremely loudly. They've already contacted a doctor, and he's on a waiting list to see a therapist. I suggested getting the police involved, but they were determined not to. My mom is afraid, and I don't know what to do. I volunteered to stay over and be the peacekeeper as our parents are getting old, and I'm personally worried about that psycho doing something to them. However, my parents have too rejected this. I was never too close with my brother, but this isn't him at all. Does anyone know what could have caused this? Or what can we do? It's like someone kidnapped my brother and replaced him with the dude from Castaway. Edit. I've seen a lot of people suggest theories, including drug use or underlying mental health issues. I had my mother over today, primarily to talk about my brother's condition. My wife was against mentioning the DNA test I ordered, so they are still unaware of my suspicions. My mom told me about the 3 incidents involving the authorities in Vietnam. The first one was a wellness check, after my parents heard nothing from him for about a week. This might have been overzealousness on my mom's part. The second and third instances were actually a part of the same correspondence, but turned out to be much more disturbing than I thought. Local authorities were worried my brother and 2 other female friends had been trafficked in Laos, as they failed to return to Vietnam on time. However, this was resolved after half a month. I have no idea the status of his friends, but I suspect they all returned to Vietnam together. With regards to my brother as at the present, my parents have since agreed to my suggestions of adding cameras to communal areas as well as installing a doorstop in their own room. They have also given me news that they will go private to seek psychiatric treatment for him starting next week. We'll keep you all updated. Whoa! It seems like something really traumatic happened to him. And maybe that did result in a drug addiction and he's still using, or I don't know. I don't know. I'm not an FBI agent. I'm not a detective, so I can't really fully say what I think is happening, but it seems like obviously something isn't right. Someone said a hard drug addiction is the likely most answer. DNA testing would clear this up really quick. If the result is a match, I'd suggest you seek counseling for the both of you. In that case, either he's done a lot of hard drugs and needs help, or you have some tendencies towards delusion. If the DNA is not a match, you've got your hard proof and can probably get the help you need. The kind of resources needed to pull off the scheme you're describing would make it a very odd way to spend someone's time. Finding someone similar looking enough to fool not only airport authorities, but also family has got to be difficult and expensive. If your family is not high profile, I'm talking head of state, Fortune 500, C-suite, or otherwise ultra wealthy, it would not make any sense to pull something like this off. Even then, it's such a crazy scheme I can't even imagine anyone actually trying it. And to what end? An inheritance scheme or something? Well, what I took of that, of him saying it seems like someone replaced him, it seems like he was saying that as a hee hee ha ha, not a serious thing. Not saying it's funny or anything, but him being him just trying to explain it that was a detail because of how different he looked, but not actually thinking that he was replaced with someone else. Not actually thinking aliens came down and cloned him and then put his clone on Earth, That's how I took it, but I don't know. Maybe he was being for real. OOP said, my family are quite controversial, particularly for Vietnam, which is mainly why my parents were against my brother's gap year to begin with. I can't elaborate further on that regard, unfortunately, but there is definitely reason for something like this to happen. What? Okay. I'm interested. July 6th, 2 days later, family member missing. Location, France. Hey y'all, I'll keep this query as brief as possible. My brother has disappeared. My parents only noticed this morning, but it is likely he fled sometime last night as we booked psychiatric treatment for him on Tuesday. He is seriously unwell, and on another thread, people have been claiming his condition might have been exacerbated through drug use. We don't want the police involved. We don't want this to be a public affair as our family can't afford it right now. We live in a semi-rural town near the Swiss border, so we are hoping to find him before he hurts himself. How can we go about finding him? Any help would be appreciated. Okay, what is happening right now? Top comments of that post says, you do want the police involved, trust me. I understand not wanting the police involved, but there is no other choice. I read your other posts about him, and he might not only be a danger to himself, but also other people. You shouldn't delay contacting the police any longer. Nothing good will come out of that. Best of luck. Based on your other post, you absolutely need police involved. You are worried that this can become public, but it will be worse if he hurts himself or others. Once he's found, you need to commit him immediately. Oh my God. I'm actually stressed right now. And now I'm stressed because this last update seems like it's really short. July 10th, 4 days later. Hey y'all, I thought I would share an update. This will also be my last post on this site, and I wanted to say a quick thank you to everyone who commented. My brother is dead. We found him in the early hours of this morning, and I've spent the rest of the day finding the courage to make this post. But it's a shock. Maybe it's shock, but I'd like to think he died over in Vietnam, and upon his return, his body was simply catching up, rather than prolong his torment. You all do a wonderful service here, so please keep doing what you're doing. All the best. What? Oh my God. Someone said, I'm so sorry for your loss. Take some time away from the internet and take care of yourself and your parents. OOP said, they are a lot more devastated than I am. I think it's because they view the past 20 years to be a waste. I don't view it this way. My brother lit up every room, and every moment I had with him was cherished. However, I do also believe this moment was inevitable since he returned. In a weird way, I'm glad he went out on his own terms rather than endure what could have been years of pain. I just can't imagine. What am I saying? I don't know. I'm flustered. I just can't help but think that if they would have 5150'd him or something, and I'm not saying it's the parents' fault at all. Not the parents' fault, not victim blaming at all. But I'm just thinking, what would have happened if they could have 5150'd him or something, and could he have gotten the help? I mean, obviously it's pointless to think of this now, but I'm just thinking I feel like there's always hope for someone. So I feel sad him thinking this was inevitable since he returned, because I truly think that even if someone seems so far gone, I still feel like there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. I never, ever, ever would want anyone in the world to read this and think if you get to this point, it's inevitable, because I always feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And maybe that's naive of me to say. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not saying he's wrong for saying that. I'm just saying I can only imagine someone reading this and just thinking it's better if I would just go out on my own terms than endure years of working through it. Do you know what I mean? Not saying he's wrong at all. I'm just thinking of what could have been and really how, I don't know, that makes me so sad. What the hell? This is actually so crazy turn of events. Commenter 2 said, I remember your other post. I'm so sorry for your loss. It sounds like at the very least you may have started to grieve him after seeing the state he was in upon return. I hope you find peace with what happened, in whatever form that may be. My heart goes out to you and your family. In addition to being sincerely sorry for what grief you and your family are enduring, I also want to say that it's because of you, your brother, and the experience you shared about his return that I just called a couple of buddies to set up visits with them this weekend. I've really been feeling like each of them have been receding and struggling quite a bit and are in need of a visit from a friend. And having just made those calls, I'm now terrified of what might have happened if I hadn't come across your post and been moved into action. No matter what may or may not have happened, if I didn't reach out to my buddies, just know that your candor and your brother's struggles have probably had some potentially life-saving effects for a couple of strangers. We wish you a lot of strength in these hard times. No idea what he went through over in Vietnam, but it must have been soul wrecking. Take time for yourself and the family because this will leave a big scar. I feel like they need to figure out what happened. I mean, maybe they don't, maybe they don't want to know, but for me, I feel like I would need to know what happened. I feel like this would be a mystery for me, and like I would need to know if someone I loved and cared about all of a sudden returned home and is just like disgruntled and so in terrible shape, like murmuring and not even being able to say anything, as just a shell of a human being, not themselves anymore. I would need to know, like I would need to know more details. Oh my gosh. KV4268 said, I have so many questions. What is up with this family? Why are they controversial in Vietnam? What worldview could lead the parents to view their son's life as a waste of time? Why did they have a surrogate baby in their 60s? What the hell happened to this kid in Vietnam? Is this family Vietnamese? What is going on here? Unfortunately, he said, if they're Vietnamese in their 80s and in a country that speaks French, they were involved in some shady government shit in the 60s and 70s, is my guess. Plus, the means to hire a surrogate, they were well off. Using a surrogate is also illegal in France. Does France allow private international adoption? The rich tend to have expensive workarounds, like flying to a country where surrogacy is legal to do what it entails, then formally adopting the child when it's born. What is happening? One bloody emu said, it might even be the first Indochina War, which the French fought and lost against the Vietnamese in the 1950s before the Americans came in. His grandparents might have been involved with the French colonial project in Vietnam in some way, but who knows? Could be shady, could just be Southern military that got out before or during the fall of Saigon. I don't know how to pronounce a lot of this stuff, I'm sorry. They had OP in their late 50s too. Viewing his life as a waste is so heartbreaking too. Like, I get grief really messes you up, but God, it's like saying everything he did was worthless, even though we all know that's not true. I know, that's what I was thinking too. Like, what in the world could have you thinking the last 20 years was a waste? Like, what does that even mean? Maybe it's because he didn't get the chance to do much since he was only 20. They had him deliberately by surrogate, raised him while they were really too old for that. And then, just as he should be able to really start living his life as an adult, it's over. Forlament said, at first, I was charitable and thought maybe it was a lost in translation situation. I also speak a Latin-based language, and you could definitely use the word waste in reference to a young person's death, meaning that they had so many years left, and it's a pity that those were lost to death. That is a waste to lose someone so young. This could be the same in French. However, I went back to the post, and OP says his parents are viewing the brother's 20 years of life as a waste. Yeah, they are definitely strange and seem to be regretting that they won't get their investment back for raising him. Adding to the fact that they had him by surrogacy when they were 60 in a country where surrogacy is illegal. My bet is that they had him so he would be their caretaker in their old age. Okay, there's a lot to fucking unpack here. Like, I am trying to do more research in these comments because what in the world is going on? And I'm so unaware of things. And every time I read these stories and I read the comments and stuff, I'm always like realizing how much I don't know about the world. Like, first of all, I didn't know that it was illegal in France to have like a surrogate. And then all this other stuff about like the Vietnam, like maybe they were involved in this shady stuff. What do you mean? How do you know this stuff in the 60s and 70s? Like, how do you know that shady stuff went on? Maybe you paid attention in school, which I did not. I guess that could be the case. Lemon Leaf said, same. The end just left us with more questions. Why was identity hijacking something plausible to him? And what was he loudly doing in his room? No, actually, what was he doing loudly in his room? I don't know. It was giving like Jeffrey Dahmer to me. Like, it was giving something loud in his room. The only thing that comes to mind when I think something loud in his room is when I watched the Jeffrey Dahmer like Netflix thing, and it was like the really loud noises in the room in his apartment. That's all I can think about ever when I think about like, oh, loud noises in a room. Not saying that, not accusing him of doing anything like that. I'm just saying that's what comes to mind. The French formerly colonized Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. There's a long, ugly history there. And also don't know how to pronounce that. I need to figure out how to pronounce stuff. Like, I hate when I don't know how to pronounce stuff. Laos. That's what it is. Just found out. So the French formerly colonized Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. There's a long, ugly history there. Okay. I don't know, but I know surrogacies like that happen. I have a friend who was a surrogate for a couple in their 60s, and they wanted another kid. Waste of time gets me. Like, was he born for a specific purpose? That's what I'm thinking. What is that purpose? Let me know. I need to know more details. The fact that we're probably never going to know is really stressing me out. Starry Steph said, this is a popular saying in Chinese/Taiwanese and Vietnamese culture. Grew up raised by both. Whenever someone's kid died, especially if adult kid, they'd say it's such a waste. All these years spent raising this kid and now they're gone. Some of them mean the shock and disappointment, but a lot mean the idea that kids are investments. You have them so you'll have people to look after you when you're older. One of my most big issues with my family now. I didn't realize that people in other... This is how fucking, like, out of touch I am. Like, go touch some grass, girl. Like, I don't even think about the fact that, like, it's obviously such a viable thing when I think about it. Like, oh, yeah, other cultures thinking, like, let's have a kid so that we have someone to take care of us in our old age. Makes so much sense to me. Like, it's clocking to me. I'm standing on business with that. But I just don't think about that. And then I read stuff like this, and I'm like, whoa, that's kind of fucked. Like, people are truly out here having kids because they're like, I'm going to have this kid because I need someone to take care of me when I'm older. I mean, obviously, that's not a good reason to have a child. We're all in agreement of that, right? Like, I know every culture is different, but that is not a good reason to have a child. Sassy Savvy said, spare parts, like My Sister's Keeper. Oh my God. I forgot about that fucking movie. That's also crazy that they had that kid for spare parts of, like, to be able to donate to their kid. That is just wild. Jealous Macaroon said, now this was weird. And then someone responded, so effing weird. I don't really know how to contextualize this post. There's nothing remotely normal for me to latch onto. I'm sorry for everyone involved, and that's about all I can say. Why wouldn't they contact the police at any point in the process? Why didn't OOP just go ahead and do that DNA test if he was so paranoid about it? What the hell happened to OOP's brother while he was overseas? Honestly, it's the police part that trips me up the most. I wondered if they were an immigrant family because that need to save face rings pretty familiar in my immigrant family. But we 100% would have called the police if one of us went missing. What the hell is going on here? My conspiracy theory is the parents are Vietnamese nationals who worked with France during Vietnam's war for independence. I assume they were publicly known government officials and sufficiently important that France has basically had them in witness protection ever since the war ended. Except that the war ended in 1954, 71 years ago. If the parents are in their 80s, then they were teenagers at most. I guess they could be children of families involved that way. Actually, it might make more sense since OOP says their family is known, not that their parents specifically are known. So it could be an issue of their surname, and international travel usually requires people using their legal names, so they couldn't hide it when entering the country and would have IDs and documents which identify them. Sorry guys, I'm overwhelmed right now. I want to read through all these comments just because I'm like actually so tripped out right now. I'm so tripped out. I'm so confused. I'm so I'm confuzzled. I need more answers. Accomplished Owl, please. Why did you delete your account? And please, why did you not give us more details? It almost seems like he wanted everyone to think, this is my conspiracy. His brother's not actually dead, but he wanted everyone to think that so we would stop asking questions because it just got too big on Reddit, and I think he might have gotten scared, and then he didn't want anyone to get the police involved, and he was like, fuck, I need to go post and tell them that, like, my brother is dead. That's my conspiracy theory. I hate making a conspiracy theory about someone's real life because obviously this is someone's real life and I'm not trying to be insensitive about that. I feel for this person. I'm like so heartbroken for them if this is obviously all accurate information, but it's just so, like, I have so many questions that I wish could be answered and unfortunately can't be. Wow. Well, I'm really sorry. That is so sad that all of this happened, like, in the matter of just a week, in the matter of 6 days, all of that happened. That's so sad. But that's all the stories I have for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Those were two really strange stories. Like, those were two, I guess the first one wasn't like that strange. They definitely had a solution there, which I'm glad for. Wow. Some of the more weird stories we've read in a while. But I hope you guys enjoyed that episode, and I love you guys so much. My eyelid has been fucking itching so bad today. In this video, I've itched it like 100 times. Let me know what you thought about these stories. Seriously, let me know, what are your guys' like theories about this story, because I'm so damn confused. I'll talk to you guys in the next episode, and I love you. Okay. Aww. If you want extra content weekly, head over to patreon.com/storytimesociety and become a member on there for extra content. Love you. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.